Hi, Adrian. This is Kathy. Want to give you some feedback about your course map. It's looking really pretty, or really nice, I should say. Um, your course objectives, you have a ton of them. 15 is a lot. Not to say that it can't be done, it's just a lot. It just creates a lot of work for you in the mapping. So I just wanted to verify that you do, in fact, have 15 course learning objectives. Typically, course learning objectives are somewhere between 5 and 10. They're usually more broad. There's not as many. And then the module learning objectives, there's usually quite a bit more of those, 2 to 3 times more, and they get more specific. So your course learning objectives are kind of specific rather than broad and overarching. But I mean, if that's what your program has decided these should be, then we'll make them work. I just wanted to ask that question and see if you had control over the course learning objectives, if you have the right ones, first off, and then second, are you able to change them? That's a lot of work. You got to go through the CAP system and everything at DACC. But anyway, just wanted to verify that was correct. And then in the course map itself, you have your module objectives listed. So I want to look, let's go down here to number 3, module 3. You have, for example, this one, it says utilize 2 drawing environments, paper space and model space. So that would be your first module objective for module 3. And then the second one says be familiar with AutoCAD software from Autodesk used in this industry of construction. So I would just suggest that you put this on a new line and maybe even do a numbering system. That would make it much easier for people to understand where one ends and the other begins. I'm going to show you Gene's real quick. This is Gene's course map, and as you can see, he has a numbering system. And you could even just put numbers, number 1, number 2, whatever. But as you see here, he's doing for module 2, it's 2, 1, 2, 2, and then module 3, 3, 1, 3, 2. So anyway, that's a really nice way to number if that's something that appeals to you. And you could even just do, bullets, but something to separate them out. So like on module 2 as well, you see how just one ends and the other begins. And so just for clarity, just to make it a little bit easier to understand, that might be helpful. The next thing is the course objective mapping. So on here, on the template I gave you, I'm just kind of jumping around to other people's, you see how it says, let me go back to Gene's. You see how it says module objectives, and then underneath it says the course objective alignment. That alignment, putting that right there at the end of each module objective is very helpful because it demonstrates to the novice person what goes with what. So you kind of have it here, course learning objective 1, but like for this one, for module 2, objective 1, it says demonstrate the proper use of basic hand drafting tools. So if I was reviewing your class, not knowing anything about your field, I would come up here and try to figure out which one of these would align with that module objective. And so I would guess that is probably number 3, but it could be several of them, or it could be something other than 3. So when you leave it up to the reviewer to guess, that's where there could be some errors made on the reviewer's part, and they may not be able to see alignment when it's actually there because they don't know your field. So in the review, there will be 2 reviewers that will probably not be from your field, and 1 reviewer that will, the subject matter expert. So a lot of times only 1 person will understand what's going on as far as the content goes. The others are just looking at basic course design. So if you will put at the end of every single objective the course objective alignment, and you can do it just as something in parentheses, and just to give you an example. And I have some examples also in the assignment page, but you see how Adelina puts just in parentheses the course learning objective right next to the module learning objective. Okay, and then lastly, I also wanted to mention in your assessment column, so you have activities and assessments. And activities, you're correct. It typically is viewing a video, a lecture, reading, maybe researching, things like that. And then over in the assessment column, this is where you will put everything that is going to be turned in for a grade. So here you say submit these things or complete this assignment. Those would be over here in assessments. And so I know assessment is used loosely, and a lot of times we think of assessment as a big test or something that's very summative, but it can be formative as well. So all of these smaller assignments would also go into assessments. They'd just be considered formative assessments, and then bigger grades would be considered summative assessments, but they would all go in this column. So what we're doing when we review is we are looking at this map. The map is really important for our review. So we look at this map and we look to make sure, first off, do the module objectives, are they measurable? Do they have a verb that matches the assignment and we can actually give it a grade? So for example, describe related career options and pathways. That word describe, that sounds like it's going to be a discussion post or some sort of writing assignment, maybe a presentation where they verbally describe something. But when you see a module objective, there's going to have to be some sort of assessment in which they will do something in order to get a grade. So the alignment would be, does course objective 1, does it align with this particular module objective? And does what you're saying for them to do, describe related career pathways, is there an assignment over here in which they actually do that? So that's the alignment between course objectives, module objectives, and assessments. And then once we get into the course, we can determine, do the learning materials align with it? Does the tool, the technology tool, like if you did a discussion assignment, are you using a discussion board? So then we look for alignment between those two other things. And those are the pillars of alignment. So I'm going to give you an incomplete on your submission right now so that we can go back in and do more work. First, number 1, to separate the module objectives out onto their own line. Second, to map each one of the module objectives with the course objective alignment. And then 3, make sure that anything that's going to be submitted or getting a grade is in the assessment column. So if you can make those adjustments, it will, it's very, very impactful and important that those adjustments are made, and then resubmit it, and I can give you some more feedback. Okay, so thank you for all of this work. It's off to a great start. You've got a lot of wonderful information here, and we just need to make those little fine-tuning adjustments. Okay, thank you, Adrian.